Senators of the committee, thank you very much for having me here today. I will let you know from the outset that I'm not a practitioner necessarily in the insurance area, and therefore my testimony will not be laced with the emotion that you've already heard. I'd actually like to talk about the charge and TDI's report, which I do think raises some interesting questions. First of all, the charge states that TDI and this committee was to monitor lawsuits related to hailstorms and weather-related events. And what TDI told you, in effect, was a well-known truth. Large storms bring large losses, and losses bring large claims. That's all it really says, because otherwise what you got was that this is preliminary data. We can't draw any conclusions. We can't relate or link one event to another, and we can't draw the kinds of conclusions that Mr. Badger would like to draw. What we do know is this. The data is from 2000 to 2015. And then there's this subset of 2012 to 2015, which is perceived to be a litigation crisis. But that's also when 8 of the 9 largest hailstorms in this state's history occurred. So you have a significant weather event in the period that coincides with an increase in legal involvement. And despite the fact, though, that lawyers are alleged to be involved and public adjusters and roofers, and there's this crisis, the actual number of claims from 2012 to 2015 has averaged less than the 16-year history that TDI was able to observe. Secondly, what about negative consumer trends and market disruption? Well, TDI told you their data was preliminary, that it's unaudited, that it was unverified. They concluded nothing definitely. They could tell us what data said, but not why it occurred. And they found no clear pattern or relationship between deductibles, premiums, or coverage and the increased involvement of attorneys at all. Third, what about disruptions to coverage or non-renewals or withdrawals? Well, what TDI tells you is that coverage has remained exactly the same. We have the same levels of coverage generally that we've had for the last 10 years. What they told you was that there is no relationship between premiums going up, deductibles going up, and the involvement of attorneys. It talked about companies that walked away from the business, 20 of them, 10 of which left for no reasons other than business, and only two small companies perhaps left either because of litigation or substantial catastrophic losses during this period of time. Finally, premiums and deductibles. Oh, and one other thing I want to make sure is clear. In terms of the coverage market in this state for homeowners, we have a more competitive market today than we've ever had. There is more insurance and options available than ever. The concentration has been decreased. Competitive has been increased in the marketplace. So you have a healthier insurance market overall. Insurance are providing more options, not less, during this same time frame. As to premiums and deductions, there's no relationship to hailstorms that they can draw, TDI. What we have seen, however, Senator Schwartner, is a systematic increase. Year after year after year, premiums are increased. They're not reduced when losses go down. They continue to go up. You know, what else has gone up is deductibles. Deductibles, the amount of out-of-pocket money that homeowners pay, is going up. When deductibles go up and coverage is static, premiums should go down, and they're going up. That is unrelated to hailstorms. In fact, in the hailstorm litigation areas, what you're finding is less of an increase in premiums, less of an increase in deductibles than the statewide average. How then can litigation in those areas be driving these events when, in fact, the premiums and the deductibles in that area are trending under the average, when claims are trending under the average? Ultimately, what we have is an industry that over the last 5 years has made over that 13.6% profit margin that TDI references, that equates to $4 billion of underwriting profits in the last 5 years. In 2015 alone, the insurance industry made $1 billion in underwriting profits and then went to TDI for rate review of 6.3%. That's almost twice the 16-year average. And that's why deductibles were also increasing by 5%. There's just simply no justification for that conduct, nor the fact that litigation had anything to do with it. Ultimately, they had recommended no action be taken. No action was recommended whatsoever relative to litigation. If I could take just one more minute and point to a couple of specific pages, Mr. Chairman.
30 seconds.
If you would you just turn to pages 22, 23, and 24? I just want to make sure that we're clear that we understand this very serious, chaotic scope of litigation approach problem. At page 22, what you'll find is that for the last 4 years, we're talking about a mere 2% increase in the cost per claim. 2% over the 16-year average, which, by the way, is not an adjusted for inflation number. If you look at the next page, left-hand chart, what you'll find is that the same period, for the same 4 years that we've suffered 8 of the 9 largest hailstorms, insurance companies are paying fewer claims per 100. The statewide average for 16 years is 3.9 claims per 100. For the last 4 years, record hailstorms, they've paid an average of 3.5 claims per 100. And finally, on the last page, we talk about costs. Yes, there has been an increase in cost per claim, but I'd like to point you to one thing on that page 24 in the data on the left-hand side. Look at 2011. Remember, in 2011, less than 1% of the claims involved lawyers, public adjusters, or litigation. Of the last 6 years, 2010 to 2015, what year has the highest per claim cost? It's 2011. Lawyers weren't engaged. This is before the alleged crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Thank you, Bryan.